Before we get started, there is a recognition that I want to do that's not on our agenda, so I want to do this right up front. Tuesday of this week, got to go to Oklahoma City to receive an award for the city of Tahlequah and for one of our employees. It is the Business Award winner for hiring people with disabilities and enabling them to succeed. And Rocky and Charles, you want to come back up here? You've seen these before? Yes. So these are the awards that were received in Oklahoma City. Brian was there as well, our employee. And I am so proud of this department and of this supervisor for being recognized for the work that they're doing and the way they're supporting others. And I just wanted to make sure that we were here today to make this part of the record.
Ready? 1, 2, 3. And we're 1, 2.
Thank you for indulging me with that, and with that, we'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. Could we have a roll call, please?
Councilor Long here. Councilor Combs here. Councilor Hires
Here.
Councilor Ratliff
Here.
Quorum.
Okay. Item number 3, public comments. This is the time when we will accept comments from the general public concerning topics that are not included on the agenda. Individuals be limited to 3-minute speech, not to exceed 15 minutes cumulative, and preference given to Tahlequah residents. And as in compliance with the Oklahoma Open Meeting Act, no action or discussion permitted by City Council on any issue or topic raised during the public comments period. So, Ms. Cott.
Kathy Cott, and I'm a Tahlequah resident, and I come to City Council meetings fairly often. Please speak into your microphones, and I hope you address it at this meeting.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else who would like to speak? Dr. Uzik.
I'm going to make a distribution to the council members based on my 3 minutes, please.
Thank you.
This is going to have to brief on my just give it to the Yeah, this is the issue I brought to the council's attention previously regarding the Tahlequah Hospital Authority. I'd like to refresh your memory in terms of some of the items that I had mentioned to the council with various issues. You're unable to really address these things with other circumstances there. But what I did provide again with the liability section regarding third-party payment settlements, I have no idea about the status of those. But I do have the definition for the auditor's report, which is reflected in terms of those particular items. The next item that I'd like to bring your attention to, and please let me know when my time has expired, the custodial risk concept. Okay, and what this audit indicates that the bank was exposed to material custodial risk, but not by having uninsured deposits in banks. In the year 2018, of the $9 million in the bank, $8 million was uninsured. And this is very important in terms of financial management liquidity based on the nature of the banking environment. So I want to bring your attention to that particular item. The executive compensation on page 30, basically what happens is during this period of time, the executives have acquired $1.2 million of executive compensation if they choose to leave at some point in time. Now, the more disturbing element that I discovered was the readmission penalties into the CMS Medicare program. Okay, what's been happening is you have the item, this has been occurring since 2015. to and up including 2020, because you have to file it in advance. Okay, this is a readmission. If you flip to the next page, this is a disturbing one. Hospital acquired conditions. In 2019, they were listed for that. It's a 1% penalty for Medicare. Okay, and what I did for your analysis, I listed the hospital acquired conditions on the subsequent page. So list the elements. They don't specifically list it in terms of the report, but this gives you a basic indication of what the issues may be. In addition to that, I provided you with the grading system of leapfrog. That will be available after November the 9th. It's disclosed, but I'm unable to disclose it to you until the actual disclosure date for the organization in terms of the services rendered and the ranking of our hospital, which I hope we get to a remedy. And the last page has to do with the ability of the council. Because if you look at this is the Tahlequah Hospital Trust Agreement. They highlighted on indicates that all appointments of successor trustees shall be by appointment of the mayor, okay, with the confirmation of the council. Notwithstanding any of the above, the city council may at any time, by a majority vote, remove any trustee from office for just cause.
Dr. Izzo, your 3 minutes.
Okay, thank you.
Is there anyone else who would like to address council?
Hi, I'm Tom Bernard, Tahlequah citizen, and I'm a job recruiter for the U.S. Census Bureau, which is coming up in the spring. And would like to let everyone know that there are a lot of jobs available to Tahlequah citizens. Right now, you can go to www.2020census.gov/jobs, fill out an application. They're part-time temporary jobs. It's always good to have the federal government on your resume. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Oh, they need about 200 people right now.
Tom, did it have to be 18 minimum?
Yes.
Anybody else who would like to speak? Hearing none, we'll move on to item number 4 on the agenda, discussion and possible action to approve resolution number 1024-19A, a resolution of the City of Tahlequah, Oklahoma, approving the incurrence and indebtedness by the Tahlequah Public Works Authority, issuing its utility system revenue note, taxable series 2019, providing that the organizational document creating the authority is subject to the provisions of the indenture, authorizing the issuance of said note, waiving competitive bidding with respect to the sale of said note, and approving the proceedings of the authority pertaining to the sale of said note. Ratifying and confirming a lease by and between the city and the authority pertaining to the city's water, sanitary, sewer, electric, and street lighting systems, and containing other provisions relating thereto. Councilor Hires.
Thank you, Mayor. So I believe we have a couple of gentlemen here that are going to help kind of walk us through this and answer any questions for the city council.
Would you like to speak first and I'll follow up?
No, I'll turn it over. If the mayor's permission, we'll turn it over to him.
Sounds good.
My name is Alan Brooks. I'm with Public Finance Law Group in Oklahoma City. We're bond counsel for the TPWA. Chris Wolf is.
Can't hear.
Can you hear me? Is that-
It's on.
That's Chris Wolf. I can talk louder or we can. Better?
That's better. Thank you.
Now can I get back in here as a question? They didn't hire me for my technical skills. Okay, we're going this way. My name's Alan Brooks. I'm with the Public Finance Law Group in Oklahoma City. Chris Wolf is here as well. He's the financial advisor for the Public Works Authority. We met with the PWA last week. They approved a transaction to refinance a loan that was entered into in 2010 with the Oklahoma Water Resources Board. That loan was the financing that primarily funded the pipeline project to get the water from the lake to the plant. Basically, rates have dropped significantly in the last several months. There's an opportunity, it appears, to refinance the loan that we closed in 2010 through a financial institution bank transaction. It's contemplated that financing, depending on where rates end up, we don't have rates locked yet, we wouldn't do that until after all the approvals are in place, but we're hoping for gross savings to the authority of somewhere between, let's call it $1.6 million and $1.9 million, and reduced interest rate between now and the term of the end term of the transaction. I'd be happy to answer any detailed questions that you might have, but the long and short of it is we're trading in a higher interest rate for a lower interest rate on the transaction.
And what was the lower interest rate again?
We don't know that yet. We run our numbers at a rate of about 2.6%, is what we're contemplating and hoping for. So again, that's kind of the range. Ultimately, the authority would sign off on the actual rate. It has to, they approved it at a rate not to exceed 2.75%. Savings would still be good at 2.75. If we got a rate today, we think it'd be about 2.6.
I'm sorry, you're part of the bond council, is that right?
Yes, sir. I'm a lawyer by training. Our firm is retained by the authority to do the Harvey Chafin is the local counsel for the authority. We do the financial work from the legal standpoint, and Mr. Wolf does the financial advisory work.
And that's what the $98,875 fee, one is for your organization or your...
That is correct.
And then the other $98,875 is for his group.
Yes, sir.
And so, we're looking at roughly $257,000 is essentially a loan origination fee.
No, I mean, by way of background, we worked through this process, determined that it made sense to consider refinancing the transaction, brought the concept to the authority. Two, we grabbed all of the documentation in connection with the transaction, loan documentation, resolutions, et cetera, authorizing resolutions. Ultimately, we write an opinion to the purchaser of the debt is valid, binding, enforceable, tax consequences, that kind of thing. And I will note the savings numbers we're talking about are net after transaction costs. In other words, it's not $1.6 million less transaction costs. The numbers, the savings numbers are net of any transaction costs involved.
And I believe where a lot of the savings comes in is that obviously we're lowering the interest rate, but we're also, essentially this will allow us to knock 3 years off the end of the loan.
3.5.
So right now it was supposed to be at like 2041, and it'll be settled now in 2038.
2038. Yeah, we're cutting 3.5 years off the end of the transaction.
And can you explain, just for public record, what something about the non-competitive bid, is that right?
Sure, be happy to. Under Oklahoma law, there is a requirement that if you don't go through a public competitive bid process on the sale of an obligation, then you have to formally waive competitive bidding. In this situation, the financial institution that we're dealing with, frankly, is the only one that is even remotely close to the interest rates that seem to make sense on this transaction. There is no one else out there that we're bidding able to buy. But if we didn't waive competitive bidding, essentially we would have to put a notice in the newspaper that the authority was going to issue debt. Here are the specific terms, and here's where you turn your bids in. And in the 30 plus years I've been doing this, we have never gone through a quote formal competitive bidding process for this type of transaction. So this is a negotiated transaction, but as a statutory requirement, you quote waive competitive bidding under the statute, which is literally we've done. We do on every single transaction. It essentially putting an ad in a local paper to get a financial institution to buy your debt is. There's just that's not where you find your bidders, and you simply are spending money on a newspaper publication you don't need. Good question. I get that very regularly.
Dr. Eason?
Yes, would you explain to the council why the interest would be taxable to the recipient?
I'd be happy to. This is not being structured as a tax exempt transaction because from the federal tax law standpoint, to issue tax exempt debt to refinance outstanding tax exempt debt, you have to be able to pay off that outstanding tax exempt debt within 90 days. In this situation, the Oklahoma Water Resources Board has indicated to us that we're only going to have to pay interest through December 19th. That would be less than 90 days. But because they have bonds that are outstanding that are not callable until 2021, we would not be able to meet that requirement. So the only way we can issue this debt is on a taxable basis versus a tax exempt basis. And again, the rates that we're looking at would generate the savings, which again are significant, are based on a taxable interest rate versus a tax exempt. So I mean, it's a situation where rates have just come down so much that even on a taxable basis, we can hopefully capture interest rates that will, again, overall reduce rates completely and generate these savings.
I know you said we were going to aim for a 2.6 to 2.75. I missed what the original rate is on the
3.49%.
3.49% is the rate on the existing transaction. Yes, ma'am.
Does anyone have other questions?
I would like to let you know that from a state law standpoint, the transaction requires 4 yes votes by the council to approve the transaction. I understand, and the mayor only votes in the case of a tie. I wanted to make you aware of that as well.
Does anyone want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve resolution number 10-2419A.
Second.
Motion and second. Is there further discussion? If not, roll call.
Counselor Long? Yes. Counselor Combs?
Yes.
Counselor Hires?
Yes.
Counselor Ratliff?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Item number 5, discussion and possible action to approve resolution number 102419B, a resolution approving action taken by the Tahlequah Public Works Authority, authorizing issuance, sale, and delivery of a promissory note of the authority to the Oklahoma Water Resources Board, ratifying and confirming a lease whereby the city of Tahlequah, Oklahoma leased its water, sanitary, sewer, electric, and street lighting systems to the authority, and containing other provisions related thereto. Councilor Hires?
Thank you, Mayor. So this is essentially, in 2018, this residents of Tahlequah approved the almost 15 million. It was like
14,950,000.
Bond for us to be able to do the improvements to our wastewater, our water treatment plants. And so we came to the TPWA came to the council last year and approved the first draw. And so this is the second drawdown of that, and this will bring us to that 14.95 is what I'm seeing. I think this is 6.75 million is what this loan is. So that's the quick and dirty. If you all have questions, we have the bond counsel is here. Can answer those, I'm sure.
If I can speak to part of that, the project itself is our wastewater treatment plant. It's a new flow equalization basin to catch extra water that comes through on these heavy rains. Also new headworks and things. It basically upgrades the plant where it needs to be. The plant hasn't been really upgraded since the 1990s, early 1990s. Anybody has any questions, I'll try to answer.
Mike, this is what we talked about when we had that joint meeting between TPWA Board and City Council.
Correct.
What, approximately a year ago?
Yeah, a couple of years ago, Mary.
Time goes by fast when you're having that night. So, I mean, we've kind of already went through all that with the engineers and talked about the meeting and why, and that this
Yeah.
absolutely has to be done. There's really no way around it.
That's correct.
That makes it an easy sell, right?
Are y'all?
I'm sorry, I didn't have the opportunity to pull the lease information, and I just had a question about it, and Stephen, you may be able to answer this. That lease with the city for the infrastructure that with TPWA, does the city, is that part of where our 6% comes from, or is that lease paid in a different manner? Is there an exchange there?
I do not believe that is part of the 6%. I mean, the 6% is based upon the gross their gross sale.
Mayor, my memory
But I
is,
think-
I don't think that's part of the lease. The lease was put in place years ago. It's simply a mechanism that gets the utility system and the revenues from the utility system over to the authority in the sense the city can't borrow money beyond its fiscal year. Public trust was put in place across the state in the 50s and 60s to avoid that. So it's every municipality.
Well, I understand
But
that.
I don't think those provisions are in that lease as much.
Okay.
Is the answer to your
Thank
question.
you.
I don't want to swear to that.
All
I'm pretty
right.
sure that comes up somewhere else.
Great, thank you.
I'll just make one other note. I mean, this is, on this transaction, the rate doesn't get set till right before we close the transaction, but based on the current market conditions, we're guessing the rate today would be about 2.1% fixed on this transaction. And this is 30 years? Approximately 28 years or so. Anyway, very, again, in the same way rates are down and make these refinancings makes sense. This is a federally subsidized program. Rates are lower on it generally, but it's also impacted. Rates are set based upon an index that the Dept Water Resources Board refers to. So we're borrowing at very, very low fixed interest rates on this transaction.
And once again, we're not increasing the term.
This is a transaction, when they're not increasing the term, this is new debt on the wastewater plant. So it's about a 28-year financing, and it is as contemplated when we went to voters.
Any further discussion? Would anyone like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve resolution number 10/2419B.
Second.
Motion and second, further discussion, questions? If not, roll call.
Counselor Combs?
Yes.
Counselor Hires?
Yes.
Counselor Ratliff?
Yes.
Counselor Long? Yes. Motion carried.
Item 6, discussion possible action to adopt ordinance number 1291, 2019, amending Part 3, alcoholic beverages, taxation and regulation of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Tahlequah. Mr. Johnson.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Council. Good afternoon, yes. This is, I think, the fourth reading of this. You have the highlighted option with words stricken in your packet. This is just the highlights removed, the words stricken, removed, and the final edit. So it's just the cleaned up version that I provided to Clerk Hammonds for signature if you guys do move to approve. We've discussed this, like I said, I think 4 times now. Kind of touched on the fee quite a bit. If I could scroll, I would scroll. We need to get to the fees. Yeah, if you don't mind. Keep going. Yeah. So there's our fee table. It's the same as the one that you have in front of you. We just took out the highlights and the words that have been removed. So there was discussion. I've left it at the change to $450. If that's the way you still see it, or if you want it changed, that's up to you guys. The only thing that we didn't touch on very much that I think there's a decision that you guys need to make is on this one, the hours and days of operation and the ability to sell. And if you go down to beer, wine, and spirits for on-premise consumption, the new, go ahead.
Page 12 in the packet.
The new state statute, the Oklahoma Beverage Control Act, that went into effect in October of 18. It didn't specify prohibited holidays. It left that up to the counties that voted for liquor by the drink. And in that ballot initiative, Some counties chose to include prohibited days in that ballot initiative, and the county voted to prohibit those days. Our county, it wasn't included. So we didn't vote to prohibit days of sale on-premise consumption in Cherokee County. But the state statute allows us to prohibit days that we choose. What you have here, Memorial Day, Independence Day, Labor Day, Thanksgiving Day, and Christmas Day are carryovers. That is what our existing ordinance has prohibited days for on-premise consumption. So if we want to change that, now is the time to change that. The retail option, you can see in A2, so that's your liquor stores, grocery stores, gas stations. The state statute did select days to prohibit, and they prohibited Thanksgiving Day and Christmas Day, elections, so election day. So we can add to that if we want, but it's the on-premise consumption that you guys have the decision-making authority. The state nor the county made that decision for us. So.
Just in the pause, I want to clarify when Councilor Ratliff brought the documents forward and asked a question here, he was looking at our internal financial report and asking a question about the numbers as relates to what's reflected there for alcoholic beverages. So I don't want to be outside of open meetings and not disclose what that conversation was and what we were talking about.
Clint, my only question as it pertains to this is, I see, and I don't know if that's on, I can't read up there, but what page is that? Oh, you moved.
Which one do you want?
The, where it talks about Thanksgiving and Christmas, does this mean legally that, at midnight? I mean, at midnight that that they should close at midnight? Or does it say, it says Thanksgiving Day and Christmas Day? So does that mean, I don't know, what do you call it? Thanksgiving Eve, that they should close the doors at midnight as opposed to at 2 a.m. legally?
And again, just to reiterate, those are available to be amended at this time. That's not set by state statute or Cherokee County election. So. That is what we have always had prohibited in the past. And that's why it's carried over that way.
And noting that some of those dates are high tourism dates within the city and the county.
Okay, so I don't know why my head's not wrapping this. But the state says election day, Christmas Day, and Thanksgiving Day.
For retail establishments.
And so, so the state doesn't speak to
on-premise, they leave it up to the counties and
you can go to a
municipalities.
restaurant
Correct.
and drink something on all of those
Correct.
days. But Tahlequah, because of our statute, says that you can't do that on
Correct.
Christmas, on Thanksgiving, on
Memorial Day.
Independence Day, Labor Day. So we can remove those holidays
Correct.
from that.
But not the minimum of the retail sales where they explicitly said Thanksgiving Day, Christmas Day, and Election Day.
Mr. Becker, do you or Mr. Lloyd have any recommendations or suggestions on this particular ordinance?
I mean, legally, you want me to have a position like I was a counselor, and, I mean, I would open it up and say, yeah, let the city make some money. I mean, sell liquor by the drink on those days. Those days are arbitrary. I mean, I don't see what the difference is in buying it on one day as opposed to another day. There's no legal ramifications either which way you decide to go. If I were sitting in your chair, I'd open it up and take those restrictions away.
So really we could strike, so are you saying we could strike B completely, the 3,108 days and hours operations, just strike B? There's no more B? There's only an A?
Could we modify it just to say to reflect the state law verbatim?
No, because it does have the hours included there, but we could strike all the holidays.
Also just end at 8 AM, so say between 2 AM and 8 AM, period, and then
In the
get
state
rid of everything
statute
else.
says, has the hours,
Correct.
indeed.
And then, is it the state statute, item number A2 there? Are you saying that the state statute doesn't speak to midnight, but our ordinances do? Or does the state statute say 8
Yeah,
AM to
it
midnight?
speaks to midnight.
Okay.
So that can't be right.
No, the only thing that they left open was those holidays. They set hours of operation. It's the holidays that they first left to the county, and then they left the municipality that the county couldn't take. So we could do that if the county had voted another way. We would have lost our.
On a slightly different topic, was there a reason for the change from June 30 to September 30 of each year?
There is. So the non-intoxicating alcoholic beverages that we had for all time was due on June 30, or September 30. No, June 30. And so we are trying to get those on the same page. Where all our alcoholic licenses are due on September 30. And yeah, that's where there was confusion in 2018 to 2019 on the people that were only dispensing or selling non-intoxicating alcoholic beverages, which no longer existed from a state statute standpoint, and only in our ordinances, which were obsolete at that time.
And then just one other aside, there is a misspelling.
Okay.
The heading that says original package, original is misspelled, so I want to correct that.
Okay.
Good eye there.
I'll make a motion to accept this and striking the holidays under that, section 3-108, paragraph D. And the other amendments were mentioned.
We have a motion, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Is there further discussion? Dr. Ruza?
Yes, there's an increase in sales tax for the mixed drinks. I don't know if the retail merchants here separated out because it's a higher rate, but, and most of the people aggregated into the bill. This way the city may be able to collect additional sales tax by having that differentiated reflected on the receipt, so that money will be returned to the city.
Thank you. Any other discussion or questions? If not, we'll have roll call.
Counselor Myers?
Yes.
Counselor Ratliff?
Yes.
Counselor Long?
Yes.
Counselor Combs?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Item number 7, discussion and possible action to convert Park Avenue to a one-way street from the intersection with Chickasaw to the intersection with Downing Street and restrict the direction of traffic movements to northbound only. Mr. Johnson?
Mayor. So, the purpose of this proposal is to accommodate our trail system. It's currently under construction on the south dead end of Park Avenue. That spot right there on the map is the primary subject area of this request. So in the past couple of years, the city has acquired property along Park Avenue that we've demoed. We've removed those structures. And the purpose of removing those structures is for the construction of the Creekside Trail. And so we trying to stretch our resources and make them go a little further, try to get creative with ideas on how to utilize some of our existing pavement in the area for the purpose of the trail. And so our first discussion involved Park Avenue south of Choctaw. You have one resident, that's a permanent resident that lives from that segment from Choctaw to where it dead ends to the south. And we've purchased all the other property and removed those homes in that area. And so our hope and proposal was to be able to change the flow of traffic northbound from Chickasaw to Choctaw to be able to utilize some of that existing pavement as a trail instead of pouring down another 10-foot trail at a significant expense. Last evening, we did receive some feedback from some residents that either work or live in this area of Park Avenue. This was a part of the trail that we had given some thought to utilizing that existing pavement as well. The trail essentially terminates on the northeast corner of Downing and Water. And so our park users and walkers, trail users, they just walk down this segment of Park Avenue and then eventually get onto the trail at this corner right here. Not too far. There, at that corner. And so we've given thought to even something as simple as moving those rocks out. Wow, this thing is lost its mind. Right there you can see, and using some of that existing pavement for that segment. But some of the concerns raised are significant, and I think rather than taking this step now, my recommendation would be to stop the flow, the one way at the Shawnee intersection right there. But it is funny because we didn't really think about this segment a lot because a lot of us really thought this was one way already because of the signage indicating such. And you have the one-way arrow right here. You don't have it back on the north side of Shawnee, but that curb line is set way off. And so, but then if you go out to Downing, where you're turning on Park Avenue, it says do not enter. And so there's a couple of signs located in that vicinity that indicate as much, that it's already a one-way segment of Park Avenue. And at this time, it seems to be working fine. I don't think that there's any pressing need to expand the trail right here in this location to where we're actually moving the rocks out. And there are alternative routes that I think you might be able to see on this map, where the sidewalk that runs east and west on the south side of Downing, it actually taps into a trail, a sidewalk, if you will, right there before the intersection of the bluff. And that brings you right down into Squatty Park and right there at the Shawnee Bridge. So there's nothing pressing about this segment that we need to take any action with that point and shrink the lane width of Park Avenue behind the Cherokee Nation's Gaming Commission, these apartments in Prestonsburg any more than they are right now would be my recommendation. It would be unnecessary. So I think if you were going to make a motion to change the traffic pattern, it would be from the south end of Park Avenue to the intersection of Shawnee, and we'll go from there.
South end, Chickasaw.
Park Avenue.
So you're saying that it's
You
not?
can use the intersection of Chickasaw.
So Shawnee to Downing is not one way? Shawnee to Downing is not one way, is that what you're saying?
I don't know. kind of operated under that assumption. It has the signage marked that way, but I have seen, traffic move southbound on that section, and I've never seen anybody pull over for it. So I don't think we operate it as it. I think the users in that vicinity take care and definitely pay special attention when you get up near Presley Burger. The lane width shrinks to about 14 feet right there, and so there isn't an ability for two cars to pass at the same time right when you start heading down behind Presley Burger. When you head south.
I'm sorry, I have a really stupid question. Who installs the signs? Do our street department do that, or does ODOT install them?
No, it would be the street department.
Okay. So before they would go install those signs, they would have gotten rid of somebody to put those there. We made that assumption, but we don't know if that happened in the 70s, 80s, 90s, or.
That one-way sign on the corner of Shawnee and Park Avenue, it has always been like that. I don't know.
So your recommendation would be to convert Park Avenue to a one-way street from the intersection of Chickasaw to the intersection of Shawnee.
I believe that would work.
Why would we not want to include the one that's already marked as one way? I mean, what's the point in removing that piece from Shawnee to Downing as opposed to designating it as one way now?
Because I think that some of the challenges and the concerns raised need to be addressed before we actually take that step.
So you're saying some employees from the gaming commission or folks who live in the apartment trying to get in and out? Gotcha, okay.
Because it comes from that email. We got an email from a gaming, somebody that works here, that, there's 30 to 40 people that work here. And then, of course, you've got apartments, which I don't know how many people live in those apartments, if anybody. And the thought is, if the only way they can come is to come in and then leave the gaming commission to go that way, not everybody, all these 30 to 40 people have to exit.
Pile up at the ground.
You can kind of see right there, the way their parking lot is configured, the way they have their angle parking, that would mean when they pull out on Park Avenue from their parking lot, they're going to have to go left, and then they're going to have to go up to Downing, and it causes challenges. Yeah, or they're all going to say, we know it's one way, but we're going to take this 15 feet and get out of here and get home. So.
Now it's a gaming commission. They like to gamble, don't they?
Time we're ready.
So I'll make a motion to convert Park Avenue to a one-way street from the intersection of Chickasaw to the intersection of Shawnee, and to restrict the direction of traffic movement to northbound only.
Second.
Have a motion and second. Is there any further discussion? Questions? If not, roll call.
Counselor Ratliff?
Yes.
Counselor Long?
Yes, sorry.
Counselor Combs?
Good.
Counselor Myers?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you, Brian.
Thank you. Item number 8, discussion and possible action to approve an agreement for a phone system at the fire department with VIP voice services to replace the existing AT&T phone service. Chief Hammonds.
Mayor, Counselor, you see in your package, you've got some information I'll give you on the phone system. Our current phone system is about 50% operational. We have been looking for some time for a new way to, option for the phone system there. This new phone system will not only save us money, it will service us better. The current phone system that we are using right now is through AT&T and CTS, I believe is the carrier or the company. This VIP system is going to save us approximately, from get-go, about $160 a month. And that's with 12 phones instead of 8. And if a phone goes defunct or breaks or whatever, they replace it for free. We don't own the phones, it's in the agreement. So it doesn't cost us to replace them unless we, you know, take a hammer to it or something and tear it up ourselves and we're responsible.
It burns down.
Right, hopefully not. But the other phone company, we have 2 phones that are down now. Actually, we have 3 phones that are down now. And just to replace them is right at $400 a piece. Any questions?
What do you mean by phones? I mean, tell us about what you guys have as far as, this is not the 456-2424 like landline number. That's the number we're talking about?
Yes, sir. We have a 456-2424, 456-3131, 456-1263. There's a 1787.
These are not cell phones, they're landlines.
These are landlines at our station and Station 1.
Station 1 and Station 2, right?
Yeah.
And so what's the, I mean, I guess I'm just trying to wrap my mind around if somebody needs to get a hold of you guys, right? I mean, for the most part, if those are the non-emergency, that's the non-emergency numbers that are, you can find in the phone book or online.
These are both emergency and non-emergency.
And so what are all those numbers as opposed to just having one for Station 1 and one for Station 2?
We're required to have rollover phone numbers in case the emergency line is busy. The emergency line is 3131. The Station 2 does not have to have an emergency line, but it has to have 2 lines. One is dedicated to the fire alarm system and a fax, and the other one is for communication. The phone numbers at Station 1, which would be the 3131, 2424, 1263, and the 1787. All those numbers will roll over except for the 1263, and that's our dedicated fax line and used to be non-recorded line. But those lines have to be in existence. So when, say, the Tahlequah City Hospital, their alarm system is directly tied into our phone. If their alarm system goes off, it calls us immediately rather than going through 911, they'll contact us. Over the years, we've been able to switch a lot of that to 911, but we still have a lot of facilities that call us directly when they have an alarm system. And if you have an ADT or a security alarm system at your house that covers fire, it'll ring directly at our home or at our fire station.
So that's the number, if I've got ADT at my house, that it rings that specific line as opposed to call the 911 office or whatever?
It can. Some people have it going to 911, primarily in the county. But if it's in the city, it'll call the 3131 number, which is our emergency line. Those phones have been there since I can remember, and we've pieced them together. Randy's helped us get phones before. They're quite expensive. We can't, you can't have voicemail. We can't transfer. We're not on the same system like the city has up here at City Hall. We're on our separate standalone system. And again, we are tied to several elevators in town. If you pick up the phone in the elevator and ask for help, it rings the fire station.
I always wondered who was on the other end of that one.
They call them and say hi.
I mean, and just traffic-wise, as far as calls a day, what are we talking about? 1, 5, 7?
100.
Really?
Yeah, we get calls all day long. Brad, I'm guessing 100?
Is there a reason that the fire department is on its own?
I would assume that it was done a long time ago because it had to intermingle with emergency management along with the alarm systems, and they didn't want to tie that system to our system. We did get quotes to try and use the City Hall system and just have one big system, and the quote from that company was $18,000, as opposed to just going into a new system and saving. We're going from paying $618 plus $147 to paying $450 a month. So savings about $300 a month. Because it will include Station 2. The current bill we have right now doesn't include Station 2. It's on a different bill.
Are there any other departments that we know of that are on? I mean, I guess the really only other one would be the police.
I think police is on their own. Yes.
We have our own server, but it's the same system that's in City Hall.
But we can't transfer from City Hall to the police department, is that right?
Yes, we can.
Yeah. And we can transfer from office to office, so it's assistant chief's office or the fire marshal's office or whatever with this new system. Right now, we can't. You just gotta put it on hold, walk across the fire station, or give them the phone number at Station 2 and say, you need to call this number. Again, right now, out of 6 phones, we got 3 of them that work. In other words,
Somebody stuck on an elevator somewhere?
yeah, so it's still stuck, but if we get a phone call, the guys have to put them on hold. They answer the phone, fire department, it has to be put on hold, then they have to run back to the back room to get on another phone so they can talk to them, because that phone's broken and won't let them talk to them.
Sounds very efficient.
Yeah, see, we were in the process of changing the entire city's phone system, and that fell through. But our system still has to be fixed, so we just picked it back up and ran with it to get this done. It's much needed.
Is it year-to-year contract?
I believe so. It is a grant, reviewed it. I think it is a 3-year contract, if I'm not mistaken. But it goes from year to year because we're a municipality. It has a section in there that describes that, you know, anytime they, you know, the city can't do it for lack of funds or whatever, they just get out of the contract.
Probably 1 year with a 4-year recurring, automatically recurring.
It's another area of savings. Whatever you guys want to do.
Did y'all get any other comparable quotes from other vendors besides this DIT company?
We had some. Mr. Carr had them in his office. This is the one that was cheaper by far. The other 2 companies didn't actually want to come down here and meet with us. This company did. They were more workable and cheaper than the other ones. But you'll see a list also of other people. I think that do Wagner City, they do Jenks School, Owasso School. They're pretty reputable.
Does anyone want to make a motion?
I will make a motion to approve as presented.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Questions? Hearing none, roll call.
Counselor Long?
Yes.
Counselor Combs?
Yes.
Counselor Hires?
Yes.
Counselor Ratliff?
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Item number 9, discussion and possible action to terminate part-time laborer in the Parks and Recreation Department. Ms. Tate.
Good afternoon, Mayor and councilors. This is really just kind of a tidying up kind of situation. This is a part-time Parks employee. His name is Thomas Reed, and he's been away from us for a while. It just, for some reason, his termination didn't get before this council. So, bringing that now.
So what is his official termination date?
Well, actually, his was April the 15th was his last day to work. And actually, somebody had entered it into the system, but our system doesn't allow you to track and see who did that, and it seemed to fell out of my normal routine of doing things, so it was just random, just clean it up.
And you said his name is Thomas Reed?
Thomas Reed.
Okay, so I make a motion that we terminate Thomas Reed as of April 15th.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion and a second. You have roll call?
Counselor Combs?
Yes.
Counselor Hires?
Yes.
Counselor Ratliff?
Yes.
Counselor Long?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item number 10, discussion and possible action to enter into an agreement for grant writing services with Sheldon Leto. Sheldon, would you like to come address the council?
Yes, Mayor, thank you. Members of the council, I think I know some of you. My name is Sheldon Leto, and for the last 12 years, I've been writing and administering grants primarily to municipalities. I was contacted and asked to contact the mayor in regard to some potential grant writing that the city was looking at doing. My background, I was an elected city clerk treasurer for 10 years. Resigned that position to do grant writing and focus on capital projects, more concentrated effort. Done everything from energy efficiency grants to police department buildings. We built splash pads, trails, just finished some energy efficiency measures, converted the city of Stillwell to 100% LED lighting, and then did some water and wastewater variable frequency drives for energy savings. Today, I've done about $6.8 million in grant funding, primarily, like I said, for municipalities. I currently have 3 other contracts and one not-for-profit hospice. But be glad to talk with the city of Tahlequah. I know you all have been working for several years on a trails effort. I know there's several streams of funding that's available for trails. And just basically want to open the door and talk about what the city wants to do, what their focus is, and then see about going about getting the funds to help do that. My efforts are largely directed by your leadership. In Stillwell, we did a lot of projects where the street department did a lot of the labor, and we were able to leverage that labor against, as far as matching funds to those grants. Obviously, would have to work with your street commissioner to make sure that his workload and the number of employees supported that, if that's something that we do. Coordinating with your police chief on needs of the department, different things of that nature. So, more than willing to try to answer any questions or make up a good excuse and see about working with the city.
Shell, I got 2 questions for you. Here on your contract, it says the contractor shall be compensated in an amount not to exceed $1,200 per application upon submittal of the application to awarding agency/entity. So does that mean you come to us with a list of potential available grants and we say, let's apply for one of the 5, and so we're automatically committed to up to $1,200 for that grant, is that right? Just for you to do the application process?
Short answer, yes. I would rather you all lead that process. Obviously, I can say from the outside looking in what I think you need, but you know best what your needs are. And again, that could be through each department, that could be through the directive of the mayor or a committee. But if you say we have intent to do project A, B, and C, and then I find the funding, I'll bring that opportunity to you. And yes, at that time, when the application is complete and we submit that to the funding agency, the fee is due. That up to $1,200, there's a lot of room there. Usually it's around $800, but depending on how much travel, how much research, how much time is involved in the application itself, will determine that. But the high side's going to be $1,200.
And so did I hear you say that we find the available grants and then you apply for them?
No, you tell me what your focus is. Again, I know by reading in the Tahlequah Press the last couple of years you've spent a large amount of time and effort in the trail system. So if that's going to be our focus, if we say that's our low-hanging fruit, that's the direction we want you to proceed. I know of 3 places right now that we could apply for trail funding. But I need to work with your departments to see, one, do we have a consolidated plan? I know you all have an active TSET organization. They are a tremendous asset to your community in the way of healthy living. But as far as the subject matter, I need that provided to me by the city. If we say, policing is our main focus, I'll have to work with your police chief and see what those needs are.
Okay. Do we know cumulatively we're just going to vote on, and what's going to be the order of operations to say, what about this, or?
Before any grant would be approved, or we would, of course, be bringing those forward, but I believe that we could ask Mr. Agleto to research grants that may be available in the area. And we would want that probably through our city administrator to coordinate those, just so we don't have 6 people calling.
I mean, so we're not going to have to vote on, as a body, we're not going to have to vote because we're going to have an expense here. We're not going to have, or is that going to come out of the
By
whatever your-
approving, I believe by approving this agreement, you are approving the future expenditure of those funds for this purpose.
Okay. Sheldon, my second question for you is on the last line of your contract. It says, this agreement may only be further amended by mutual consent. Sorry, it's in the fold here. The parties in writing with the approval of the Stillwell Area Development Board of Trustees.
That's an error. Like I said, I'm not giving you a contract that I haven't worked with before, so that's just a scrivener's error.
But each grant, just to clarify, each grant before we submit, we would vote on it as a council, because we would want to make sure we were in agreement with those terms and we'll be able to comply with the requirements of that grant.
Right, yeah,
Because having worked with grant, as you know, I've had this conversation before, a lot of grants have long-term follow-up requirements on data and statistics.
Right.
Sometimes you don't, the amount of money you're getting isn't always worth the amount of effort long-term.
Right, and I'm not one of those that go and try to pursue every grant that's out there and churn fees. That's not what I do. I have been successful by cultivating relationships. And to do that, I believe firmly in working with an entity, we need to do exactly what we say we'll do. I'm on a first-name basis with probably a dozen people at the Department of Commerce. They have been very good to the city of Stillwell over the years. I don't want to damage that relationship by saying that we will do A, B, and C if we're not willing to do so. So you're right. I want to bring it to the council and say, here's the benefit, here's our commitment, here's our cost, the matching funds or matching labor, equipment, whatever we do, so that everybody is on the same page. The last thing we want to do is not show a united effort when we're doing these projects, because the wastewater project I'm working on right now, it's a multi-million-dollar project, and it's a multi-year project. It's taken 3 years to get to construction, and we're about halfway through the construction phase. There are some post-award requirements as far as the jobs that the project supported and created that we have to do. I do all of those things. Administering those grants, the quarterly jobs report, the monthly expenditure reports, and then the post follow-up reporting, those are all part of what you're contracting me to do. So again, I want us to do it well and do it right for the benefit of Tahlequah. It's a blessing to me to drive by the walking trail in Stillwell that I helped fund. And in the summertime, drive by and see 30 people walking at 7 o'clock in the morning because of the fruits of that labor and the cultivation of that relationship with the tourism department, with Department of Transportation, with Commerce. So those things I value very much. So I don't want to enter into this lightheartedly, and I don't want us to do things that are not fruitful.
Mr. Baker, did you or Mr. Lloyd have any other suggestions on this contract?
I don't, I mean, like you said, you'll seek them out and you can vote on each one individually. You're just engaging him to look into possible grants.
Yeah, and the research is done at my time and my expense, so.
Okay, well, I will make a motion that we approve the contract as presented with the exception of the last sentence shall state the Tahlequah City Council instead of the Stillwell Area Development Board.
I'll second.
Have a motion and second. Further questions, comments? Seeing none, roll call?
Counselor Myers?
Yes.
Counselor Ratliff?
Yes.
Counselor Long?
Yes.
Counselor Combs?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you. Item number 11, post-executive session. Motion to exit regular session and enter into executive session. Is there someone willing to do that?
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and second. Roll call?
Counselor Ratliff?
Yes.
Counselor Long?
Yes.
Counselor Combs? Counselor Myers?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Calling the meeting back into session at 3:30 p.m. Discussion and possible action to terminate Dania Curtis, Finance Director in the Managerial Department.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and second. Is there any discussion, questions? Hearing none. Clerk?
Counselor Long?
Yes.
Counselor Combs?
Yes.
Counselor Ryder?
No.
Counselor Ratliff?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Item number 13, discussion and possible action to eliminate the public relations specialist position and/or on the employment, termination, or resignation of Jamie Murphy, public relations specialist in the managerial department.
So moved.
Have a motion, a second?
Second.
We have those. Is there further discussion, questions? Roll call?
Counselor Combs?
Yes.
Counselor Hires?
No.
Counselor Ratliff?
Yes.
Counselor Long?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Item number 14, adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
We have roll call?
Counselor Hires?
Me? Yes.
Counselor Ratliff?
Yes.
Counselor Long? Yes. Counselor Combs?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you very much.